Okay, that's a really interesting question. First of all, on the question of social protection and how it affects gender inequality, I think one key element of social protection that is really central is the availability of income security. And very often this can take the form of either contributory transfers or so-called non-contributory transfers. And what we mean by that are, for example, child and family allowances that are often paid to mothers, also pensions that are available to women and men above a certain age, which varies from country to country. As well as other forms of income security, very importantly for women, for example, having paid maternity leave, and for both men and women having paid family leave. All of these kinds of income transfers ensure income security for people throughout their lives. Also very important to add here is having income security in the case of sickness or unemployment, which can take again different forms, but having access to health and having guaranteed health financing is obviously very important. Now, one of the key issues that we can see very clearly when we look at data on women's personal income is that, compared to men's personal income, is that once you look first at market income, the difference between women and men in terms of income inequality, and then you look at the disposable income, i.e. income after taxes and transfers, very often the gender gap between market income and disposable income is reduced. And the reason why that happens is because these very important income transfers generally help women catch up with men in terms of their the income that they have. So if properly designed and if they have a gender responsive design, these income transfers can be very useful in enhancing women's income security throughout the life course and also reducing the gender gaps in personal income. Right. And now to go to your question on 5.4, under Goal 5, we have this very important target on reducing and redistributing unpaid care work. Now here, I think what we need to pay attention to is that the indicator that we use for measuring this particular target is, of course, time use data, the extent to which the time that women and men allocate to unpaid domestic and care work is equal or unequal. And what the target recommends are policies like social protection, investments in public services and investments in infrastructure in order to achieve this target. And all of these factors are really important, especially if you think of people living in rural areas in many developing countries. The amount of time that women and girls spend on unpaid domestic work, things like preparing meals, also very importantly fetching water, fetching firewood for the household's consumption in order to be able to, wash and clean and cook. All of this absorbs a huge amount of time. As well as being very hard on women's bodies, because this means walking very long distances, fetching and carrying heavy loads of water. So investments in infrastructure are absolutely key in terms of being able to reduce this kind of drudgery that very often has a very negative impact on women's time availability as well as their physical and mental well-being. So infrastructure is key, but also public services. Public services, including things like, obviously, health services, quality, accessible health services. If they're particularly available within a walking distance or short distance from where people live and where women and girls live, this can not only be very good in terms of the quality of healthcare that women receive and families receive, but also in terms of saving time, in reaching doctors. And as we know, very often women not only have their own very specific health needs, but they're also often responsible for the health needs of other family members. So if doctors and health centers are very far away, even if paying for them is affordable, or women are covered by good universal health care provision. But if the services are not within easy reach, it can take a lot of time. Women can spend money and time being away from home, trying to reach health centers. So the availability of those services is also very important in terms of reducing the amount of unpaid time that is spent on attending to one's own health needs, as well as the health needs of children. Other services that are very important in reducing and redistributing the amount of unpaid care work that women do is obviously availability of care services, particularly in many developing countries. Preschool education and care services are not very often available, and if they are, very often they're not affordable. So making those services public services that are available to everyone at a short distance and of good quality is going to make a huge difference in terms of achieving this particular target.